When this whole situation started, the first words out of my mouth were that you couldn't pay me to make a video about this. And that's for two reasons. One, it was initially a very cut and dry situation with no room for the nuance I like to think commentary videos can bring. And two, this original situation was about women's health care and a woman being tragically dismissed by everyone around her until it almost cost her her life. And everyone means everyone. Her doctors, her family, and even her boyfriend. And I'm not going to criticize the video that sparked all of this really at all, because I genuinely think the original video is incredibly well done and something everyone should see. Sharing that story took courage, and my intention with this video is not to dismiss that. Rather, my goal here is to discuss the importance of clear intention when using your influence to act as an advocate of a cause, especially when your advocacy is for very, very sensitive matters. This video was supposed to come out last week, but I originally scrapped it because I wasn't happy with the framing of my arguments and I didn't have time to finish it. So I figured, maybe it wasn't going to be worth it to make this video at all, since what was bothering me so much seemed to be over. I mean, I only pulled 2 all-nighters writing this script last week. That's nothing. I could scrap it. But then it was clear my issues with this situation weren't over, so I decided to finish this video if it killed me. With that said, let's take a look at this mess, shall we? Also, you'll have to forgive me if you notice me clearly reading off of my monitor. It's because with a situation like this, my wording and phrasing is really important, so if you have a problem with it, I guess you'll just have to frickin' deal with it. Now yes, I'm talking about the Abelina Sabrina and Gus Johnson situation. And this all started when YouTube creator Abelina Sabrina made a video originally titled, "My Pregnancy Nearly Killed Me." In essence, she shared a series of traumatic events that centered around her ectopic pregnancy, which is when a fertilized egg implants outside of the uterus. And in Sabrina's case, the egg was growing inside of her left fallopian tube. She spent weeks going to doctors insisting something was wrong and was dismissed every time, until her fallopian tube ruptured, nearly killing her. I highly recommend watching the original video because the experience she shared is important for every man and woman to hear, because the healthcare system failed her, and education is really the only way to prevent this from happening to someone else. And my critiques of her actions after her video was released should have no effects on your takeaway from the actual video itself, because to be clear, my issues come with her actions as someone acting as an advocate, not someone sharing their story. Now, during her video, she mentions an unnamed boyfriend over a dozen times, which makes sense. It's a pregnancy. Either someone else is involved in the situation, or I owe Christians everywhere one hell of an apology. And she shared some potentially abusive behavior exhibited by her boyfriend during the month all of this was going down. I say potentially because my specialties do not include correctly identifying abuse, and it would be deeply irresponsible for me to use my platform to identify things I have no business identifying. Also, lawsuits are a thing. Does it look like I have the money to fight them? I don't. Though I will go through every claim that was made later so that you can make your own opinions. But before getting to that, I will say straight up, my heart broke watching the video. It was the most moving YouTube video I think I've seen ever. And even before the internet did its thing and cracked the case, it seemed very likely that she was talking about fellow creator Gus Johnson, because according to sources, Sabrina's only 27 and has been dating him since early 2018, over 3 years, and they broke up pretty recently. Now, Gus Johnson, for those of you who don't know, is a pretty prolific content creator on YouTube, known for making short-form comedy sketches for the past 6 years. And his branding is focused almost entirely on the idea that he's your typical wholesome, friendly Midwestern boy. Like, his online slogan is literally, "Boys support boys." Yeah, if you notice, as someone with a very modest following, I don't do the whole wholesome thing because I know it's not a thing I can live up to, which is why most of my content about real-world issues tend to boil down to either just let people be happy and try not to actively make their time on this rock worse, or stop being misleading. But this idea of being the wholesome comedian was what his entire reputation was based on. And when all you see is this happy, wholesome side of someone, it makes someone else pulling the curtain back on that image ugly, and that's what happened here. Sabrina went through an ordeal that I cannot fathom, and her video was incredible because it was about increasing education about women's experiences in healthcare. And it's too damn bad that none of her actions since have been in service of that goal. And that's a hell of a claim, so what do I mean? Soon after the video's release, it was determined that Gus was the boyfriend in Sabrina's story due to a post on his Instagram documenting Sabrina undergoing a major surgery on the same day that Sabrina stated in her video of an undisclosed year. So, not too hard to put together. Sabrina made several statements about her boyfriend's wrongful behavior in the video, and despite me consuming Gus Johnson's content for years now, I obviously have no issue with her sharing this story that makes him look bad. She's under no obligation to protect anyone. So, where's my issue? This video and her subsequent media appearances and statements make clear that Sabrina is acting as an advocate for improving the treatment of women seeking healthcare, both from professionals and their loved ones. And acting as an advocate in any way puts you under a greater amount of scrutiny and requires a great amount of care in how you share your experiences. You're going to be used as an example by people who don't understand or currently support your cause. But her social media activity since the video's release has almost entirely failed at demonstrating this level of care. This includes repeatedly changing her accusations that contradict other statements she's made while refusing to clarify any facts about the situation while still acting entitled to a certain level of support despite that. So, let's start looking at this video to see what I mean, shall we? Last time I'm saying this, there is so much more to the video than just what I'm talking about. I'm just choosing to focus on this element, okay? Despite my criticism, I am still recommending you watch this video, not even because the context is necessary for my video, but because of the overall message. Lastly, this all takes place around October of 2018, and I'm going to show the time codes for everything I refer to in the video. The first claim is that Sabrina and her boyfriend agreed that if she were to get pregnant, she's getting an abortion. Once actually pregnant, however, she started to consider keeping the child, while her boyfriend pressured her to stick to their agreement and terminate the pregnancy. It's worth noting that she still intended to go through with the abortion, but she wanted to weigh her options and her boyfriend wasn't standing for it. Next up, she went to the doctor and hospital repeatedly. According to Gus, there were a total of 12 hospital visits over the course of a month, not including the visits during her recovery period. On the 12th visit, she was at the hospital alone for 4 hours because her boyfriend had work and social plans with some collaborators and told her he couldn't cancel them. He shows up as she is informed that she has an ectopic pregnancy that needs to be treated immediately and that the procedure could kill her. After the procedure, her boyfriend drives her home. And lastly, she says her boyfriend had to act as a caregiver to her, to the point that she basically lived with him and his roommate. And this led to resentment building towards her. And this resentment eventually led to the following encounters. And then he would sometimes tell me things like, "You know someone else would have left you by now, right?" I would ask for help. "Take me to urgent care, please. I can't drive myself." And he would say, like, "Oh, well, call the advice nurse and then I'll take you." And he would insist on listening to the phone call to make sure I wasn't exaggerating my symptoms. Or even when he would come with me the few times to the doctor, he would sit in and correct the doctor on things that I was saying from his point of view, because he didn't want me to exaggerate my symptoms. Now then, she went out of her way to keep the identity of the boyfriend secret, right? Why? Because in her own words, this video is meant to focus on the female experience in healthcare, right? Hell, one of the first tweets Sabrina publicly liked following the video was someone saying not to speculate. Which is why, of course, within 6 hours of the video going live, Sabrina confirmed she was talking about Gus in the comments of her video. That's weird. And she also liked a thread where someone proves that Gus was the boyfriend. That's double weird. So remember that level of scrutiny and care I mentioned for advocacy? It took 6 hours for her to completely reverse the intention of her video, and she does this several more times. And I cannot stress enough how much I think this behavior undercuts her message to outsiders. This also included her liking dozens of tweets aimed directly at Gus with accusations different than the ones she made, and publicly rejecting his apology post in what has been described by people initially outraged at Gus as a vague, attention-seeking high school relationship post. And remember, I haven't even commented on my opinion of the situation or have attempted to defend Gus. In fact, if you support Gus Johnson, I would strongly implore you to watch the video for yourself and make your own decision on whether or not his actions 3 years ago change your desire to support him. But it is a fact that within 6 hours, she completely flipped the intention of her video. Yet she has said on at least 2 different occasions that she was disappointed in the narrative shifting to pointing controversy at Gus. Which already is such an annoying thing to complain about because of how Twitter works. If you have public likes, like her, then tweets that you like appear both on the main feeds of your followers and in a dedicated section of your Twitter. And note that every single tweet I refer to or show in this video is one Sabrina publicly liked unless I state otherwise. First tweet that stood out to me. This person states that Gus, quote, kept Sabrina suppressed from even her family knowing about these things, and it shows how much of an emotional and mental hold he had on her. Sabrina liked this, which implies it's true. Let's look at her video. She says this.
I think I told one single friend. Couldn't tell my family. I couldn't talk to anybody.
And this.
I haven't really been able to tell people about this.
She couldn't tell anybody. She doesn't specify at all that it has anything to do with Gus. In fact, she suggests the opposite here.
Right before surgery, just in case it did go wrong, I called my mom and I lied and I said it was an ovarian cyst. It's not a big deal, but I just want to let you know what hospital I'm at. Don't come! Because I didn't want anybody to find out. I called my sister and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm at the hospital. And the first thing she says in the most judgmental voice is, what, you're pregnant? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not telling you anything. So I also lied to her and told her it was an ovarian cyst.
And I'm not taking anything out of context. Check the time codes yourself if you want. Is it possible Gus is also a reason? Yes, 100%. I am not even attempting to say otherwise. All that I'm saying is I wasn't there. And neither were you. And most importantly, neither were the people whose tweets she's liking. And there's a huge jump from the accusations made in the video to this tweet that she's enabled by liking it. And that's just grossly irresponsible. And there are dozens of examples of this. So, like I said, she's being held to a higher level of scrutiny, which she has vocalized her understanding of, and yet she consistently disavows speculation when it doesn't benefit a certain narrative, but encourages speculation when it does. Why did she confirm the identity of the boyfriend within 6 hours at the first opportunity if people addressing him would be a problem? If the narrative shifting is a problem, why are you liking tweets that shift the narrative, including one that directly pits Gus and his best friend against each other? Not gonna lie, that was really gross. Why is clarifying the situation beneath her, but encouraging people to accuse Gus of abuse and gaslighting isn't? Hey, here's something she posted 8 days after her original video. But the thing is, she's not going to say no. She would never say no, because of the implication. You know what my first thought was when I saw this? Is she talking about being by Gus? That was my first thought. And I'm not alone in taking it that way. No matter what the intention is, it is deeply irresponsible to leave this much speculation towards such a serious topic for someone who hates speculation. And she said since they've broken up that she hates when people speculate if her content is about Gus. And people are using that defense here that, oh, she has a life outside of Gus, and for someone to take it that way, it sounds like your problem. But when there's so much overlap between your audiences, and the spotlight on you is largely because of your relationship, when you post something vague, what would people's interpretations default to if not what you're primarily known for right now? That would be like me vaguely tweeting how other people being irresponsible really grinds my gears. People would assume I'm talking about, like, a piece of media or an online creator, since critiquing those things are what I'm known for by my audience. And then I get mad because, no, I was talking about my brother. Yet, no one told me to be vague in the first place. I'm a complete amateur at the whole content creation thing, and yet even I can understand people making assumptions about your content is part of the package. And it's really annoying for a pro to act surprised at this while also encouraging those assumptions as if this isn't affecting someone's reputation with things that might not be true. If someone's takeaway from that tweet is that Gus, her, when he didn't, Does he deserve to have you wrongfully think that of him because of what he did 3 years ago? If you answered yes, I don't really like you. Every person with a platform's first priority should be truth, especially when that truth concerns others. Vagueness like this is not in service of truth, and more importantly, it's not in service of being an effective advocate for people who need advocation. Fun thing that happened on Reddit though while we're talking about this. There's a thread allegedly written by one of Sabrina's friends. And gotta say, not only is it the funniest thing, but it's the reason I have a problem with fueling speculation. There's an accusation of Gus being verbally abusive consistently throughout their relationship. And apparently, there was a whole list of accusations that was deleted within 4 hours, because I saw this post within 4 hours of it being published. And apparently, she's Sabrina's friend, and there's like 20 accounts being like, oh bro, trust me bro, she's real, and Gus is abusive, and she proved it, but no bro, no, I can't show you, but Sabrina totally knows about this, and trust me, Gus is trash, abusive. When things like this happen, and fact versus fiction is being so blurred by you, it takes away your credibility and makes people question the merits of your story as a whole. It also perpetuates people having their careers ruined based on baseless claims and accusations, just like a post like this does. This hurts accountability in the long term because it makes people more skeptical of the motives of the person enabling this. In this case, Sabrina. Sabrina also called out people who refused to stop supporting Gus on Twitter, including his subreddits. Fun fact, both of Gus's subreddits completely turned on him within hours of her video. It wasn't until days later when she made these posts in response to Gus's apology that people started to criticize her and accuse her of acting petty. Which I'll get to. I'm sorry to say it, but the same way she doesn't owe me or anyone else a full explanation of their relationship, none of us owe her support beyond empathy for her trauma. Saying it's inexcusable to watch Gus's future content is ridiculous. And it's because of one question that hasn't been answered. Has Gus grown since this happened? Her story took place 3 years ago, and they dated until the last couple of months. What did the rest of the relationship look like? Do I understand why she might not want to forgive him for his actions 3 years ago? Yes, absolutely. But romantic relationships are when we show the best and worst sides of ourselves. The fact is, Gus let down his girlfriend in a 3-year relationship when he was terrified of potentially not having a say in a choice that would affect the rest of his life, and then was burdened with acting as someone's caregiver. If you can't understand someone being selfish in that scenario, when can you ever forgive someone for being selfish? We can acknowledge that someone's actions under great distress were wrong without writing them off as a person. And it annoys me because so many of the people turning their noses up at this would react the same way if put in this situation. Their lowest points just don't get put on blast to hundreds of thousands of people years later, some of it out of context. And before someone pulls out the Twitter, oh, reliable straw man, I'm not enabling an abuser because I like his content, something I hate women. I'm saying that the information provided by Sabrina about Gus's actions 3 years ago is either enough for you to end your consumption of Gus's content or it isn't. And right now, both of those options are fine. But people saying this doesn't matter at all, and people saying this was the worst thing someone's ever done, are being ridiculous. And for me personally, what we've been told isn't enough for me to just like slam Gus Johnson, because apparently that's the only word anyone knows to use when they're describing someone's criticism. I don't know. What would be enough for me to consider it? Knowing if behavior like this either occurred consistently in the 3 years of their relationship that took place after these events, or if it happened again recently. Now someone is typing out in the comments, checkmate Jimmy, the nose job. Yeah, this video's already way too long, so let's talk about it. This year, Sabrina got a rhinoplasty, also known as a nose job. That's what Wikipedia says, by the way. I'm not trying to use like the negative connotations of a nose job. I just can't pronounce rhinoplasty. Rhinoplasty. Without sounding like a 3rd grader reading from a college textbook out loud, so bear with me. Sabrina got her nose job early September. She made a video where she vlogged her initial recovery, which took 2 weeks. Still to this day, she's not fully recovered, mind you, but her nose is able to be touched normally. There's just minor lingering swelling. She briefly alludes to this pregnancy story without going into detail because she wasn't ready to tell the story. Obviously, that's totally fine. But one thing that she talks about a lot in this video is how anxiety affected her throughout this process because of the trauma associated with her pregnancy, and to an extent, her medication from her procedure worsened this. So, say it with me. Where was Gus during this recovery? Let's rewind a bit, shall we? Sorry, I stayed up past 7 a.m. when I wrote that line, and at the time it seemed funny. Good news, I already know it wasn't. Either way, Gus released a statement expressing regret for his actions and the opinion that he has grown as a person in the 3 years since, even saying he attended therapy as a direct result of this. Sabrina vaguely alludes that he hasn't changed, seemingly because of her nose job. And it drives me up a wall the way she chose to address this, because it demonstrates the issue of being vague and honestly borders on manipulative. Time to sound like Keemstar for a minute. Great. Well, I mean, he is retiring. Someone has to take the mantle. Though, I mean, that haircut, not for me. And also, I can't swap people just because they disagree with me. Damn it, every time I want to make more money, those pesky morals just always get in the way. In response to Gus's statement/apology, Sabrina posted this tweet and Instagram story. Okay. This is the longest, most stressful video I have ever made. I got actual chest pains from putting this video together, and this might end up being the most controversial video I've ever made. I pulled 3 all-nighters just to write this video, and I'm gonna have to pull at least one more to edit this. This Instagram story was the sole reason I decided to make this video. I was 100% on her side until she posted this, because I saw that she was liking comments and tweets that had the issues I've already mentioned, and I rose an eyebrow. And I talked about it with my girlfriend because, video or not, it was weird to me. And she, not at all a fan of Gus Johnson, mind you, decided to follow the situation because she was aware of his reputation and saw enough of his content to find the situation very surprising. When I asked her if she thought the liked tweets were weird, she said I was probably looking too much into it because I've watched Gus Johnson for years. I might be in denial. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Definitely not going to make a video on this. And then even my girlfriend, a professional woman, mind you, did a complete 180 and said, yeah, no, she's clearly manipulating the situation as revenge. And I got my girlfriend's approval to use that exact quote. And we're far from alone on this being a turning point for our perception of the situation. You see, Sabrina says that Gus lied in his apology. Well, she doesn't state why, which would imply that he was constantly abusive. Yikes. Okay, so he exhibited the same behavior for 3 full years? Okay, that'll do it. I don't think I could support him, but... Wait. What is that? Enhance. 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 Unenhance. A Pokemon card. Oh, so we just have a classic Icarus moment here. I'm going to state nothing but facts for a moment. No speculation whatsoever, but I haven't really speculated at all so far. Sabrina received universal support for her video. Gus obviously received the opposite. Totally fine. Sabrina kept making and enabling vague claims in the ways we discussed, and continued to receive universal support. It wasn't until she posted this Instagram story that the number of people questioning her motives dramatically increased. And she took down this story within hours. It might have even been within 1 hour. But her tweet without the Pokemon card is still on her Twitter as of November 2nd, which happened to receive more likes than Gus's statement. And it wasn't until after she received backlash for the Instagram story that she expressed issues with the narrative of her video shifting. See, when only one side of the story is told in a way that prevents the other from being able to share their perspective, when you use the support you receive to make vague claims about someone in the hopes of affecting their career and reputation, sometimes that can be extremely misleading. Sometimes people are going to trust you without question at all at a certain point because they think you've earned their trust, and then when they find out your motives are misleading, they're going to have a problem with that. Let's discuss the card, shall we? And there's a reason I'm going into this much detail. Okay, so Sabrina implied something in her rhinoplasty video. Rhinoplasty. Fuck me. Okay, so Sabrina implied something in her Sabrina implied something in her nose job video, and repeatedly liked tweets supporting this claim recently. Gus chose Pokemon cards over her. Can you believe Gus chose a children's card game over her? Oh my god, how could he? And this is in reference to the fact that during her nose job recovery, Gus consistently streamed on Twitch, with his content primarily revolving around opening Pokemon cards. But she conveniently never shared that opening Pokemon cards is part of his job and a main source of income for him. If your partner was a teacher or a doctor or a grocery store clerk or anything that wasn't home-based entertainment, would you feel entitled to them missing work for your recovery from a minor cosmetic procedure? Not appreciate. Feel entitled to. She got a nose job, not the major life or death procedure from 3 years ago. How much help do you need to recover from a nose job? Oh, Jimmy, you have no idea what you're talking about right now. Yes, actually, I do. Can't you tell I got a nose job? No, I'm kidding, I haven't. I almost had to, though, because of this story. I almost had to get a nose job. Let me explain why. And it's time for the only personal anecdote I have ever given in a year of content creation, and probably the last. 10 years ago, I was hit by a car. Long story short, I broke my nose. Like with her nose job, this whole part of my face and 4 vertebrae. And the latter affects my mobility and ability to walk to this day, and most likely will for the rest of my life. But it especially made things more difficult for me in the first year. I don't understand, for the life of me, what part of her nose job required her boyfriend to skip work for weeks. Because when I had a broken face, on top of 4 vertebrae, if I needed something, I slowly shuffled to go get it, or kept it by me. And I was on oxys and all that fun stuff. It was really bad. And if that accident occurred today, I wouldn't get upset at my partner for not taking off 2 weeks of work, or honestly, any more than a day. Is it okay to appreciate that? Is it okay to break up with someone if you need that level of care from them and they chose not to give it to you? Yes, of course. But to feel so entitled to it that you vaguely post things that worsen their reputation while simultaneously implying they were abusive within the last few months is so messed up. If I showed you this tweet without the context of the Instagram story, try to tell me you wouldn't interpret it to mean that Gus was exhibiting the same behavior as 3 years ago consistently over the last 3 years. At the very least, tell me your assumptions wouldn't be far worse than the fact that he chose to work for a few hours over a day after her minor cosmetic surgery while she maintained full mobility. And that's not even mentioning the fact that she was well enough to make a Q&A that day. To be vague like this, when it affects someone else's reputation and ability to make an income, is so messed up, dude. If you share the facts and that in turn affects him, fine. I don't care if it's my favorite person in the world. If you're sharing the truth, that is fully within your right. But this, leaving your meaning up to interpretation while knowing that when you specified the reason for your statement on another platform that your message was negatively received, is wrong. Her procedure did not justify someone taking off from work for weeks if they did not want to. Realistically for a second, what is he supposed to do? There. You still in pain? Okay. There. As someone who had her injury, and then some, she did not require the level of physical care that required someone to take off from work. And while Gus financially could probably afford time off, let's be real, it also served as a break for him from having to act as a caregiver. Dude, someone's mental health doesn't just become irrelevant just because they're acting as a caregiver. You're still allowed to do something for yourself, even if you're taking care of someone else. It's a few hours out of the day. Are you kidding me? And if you say her trauma was the reason she needed him, and I don't understand trauma-related injuries, I was hit by a car. While I don't understand her specific trauma, I understand a traumatic event changing you. But the hard truth is that she chose to undergo a cosmetic procedure while knowing her level of trauma. To make that decision and put all of that pressure on someone and use their failure to live up to your expectations as a reason to ruin their reputation by being misleading is wrong. That would be like me experiencing a scary situation while driving and getting mad at my girlfriend for not driving me everywhere and publicly blasting her for it. Trauma is a difficult thing, and receiving the emotional support you need is so important. Speaking as someone who honestly didn't receive that. But you are not entitled to anything on this earth because you have trauma. You can cut people out of your life when they let you down. They're not entitled to having you in their life. But you don't get to ruin someone's life when they let you down just because you have trauma. And maybe that's not what's happening, but the fact of the matter is, she called him a liar in 2 vague posts so people would assume the worst. The one post in which she implied her reasons for calling him a liar received criticism until she deleted it, but kept the more well-received tweet that left her reasons completely up to your imagination. Also, I whine about this all the time, but what's once more? If you're not educated and practicing in the field of psychology, stop acting like you're an expert. Bro, Sabrina said these 2 things.
Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world by any means. I'm actually quite bimbo.
I should have planned this out better, I guess. It's my fault.
People really went out and said that these are trauma responses due to years of abuse, not just an awkward joke at her expense and a true statement. Like, after her nose job, her mom stayed with her for 1 night, and Sabrina says she expected her mother to stay longer. So either Sabrina didn't plan it right, or her mother let her down again, which would make even more sense for why Gus had to stream planned the next day if he was told her mother would be there longer. People go to ridiculous lengths to tell someone they did nothing wrong online, and it is not doing them any favors. In conclusion, finally, I firmly believe Sabrina. I believe every word she shared, and I am grateful she shared her experiences. And if your takeaway from this video is to comment something sexist or attack her on social media, you have completely missed the point of this video. My disappointment stems from one thing, and that is the inconsistent messaging and handling of this situation since she came forth with her story. When you want to share your trauma, you can do that any way you want. But when you're trying to act as an advocate for those who share your experience, this behavior, this vague, petty posting, these high school level jabs are the exact way you ensure that the next time someone shares this kind of experience, they're going to be taken a little less seriously. And before someone comes up with the original instant win argument, I'm not pretending to understand the best ways to advocate for the well-being of women. Nor am I speaking on behalf of women, because I couldn't possibly understand their experiences. But I have plenty of causes that I do have much more experience with. And if I saw someone trending number 3 in the country for raising awareness of a cause I'm passionate about, I would be embarrassed to see that they quickly devolved into high school level drama and fueling speculation, only to claim that they're a victim after they receive criticism for doing so. And the last thing I'm going to do is stop stating facts and sharing opinions, and instead I'm going to ask some questions. If we operate under the assumption that none of Sabrina's actions are motivated by spite, and they are all focused on altruism and sharing her story, and not about getting some sense of revenge, why did her social media encourage the narrative of her story to shift to Gus starting 6 hours after her video was posted, and didn't end until her first signs of widespread criticism for her handling of the situation? Why was she with him for 3 years after this happened? I know. Bear with me. There's 3 options I can see. 1, Gus was abusive enough to have a hold on her for 3 years, and only now was she able to end that relationship and immediately decided to bring these actions to light, but for some reason still remain vague on the 3 years of abuse. 2, she forgave him for what happened and moved on, and only brought his actions to the public eye 3 years later after only a month of being broken up. That would imply retaliation, not altruism. Or 3rd, she was resentful for 3 years and for some reason stayed with him for 3 years. That's a long time. So which reason was it? Next, a single post was the reason that all of this was traced back to Gus. A post he made on Instagram in October of 2018. The post where he announced their relationship. I asked my girlfriend if she remembered the first time I posted her on my social media, which, coincidentally, was also October of 2018. She remembered within seconds, as did I when I thought to ask her. You remember the first time someone publicly shares your relationship because that means something. You especially remember the first time someone posts you when that post is in relation to something that apparently built up this much resentment 3 years later. Gus described the ordeal as being one they faced side by side. So I guess this isn't a question, but rather a statement. I have a really hard time believing that she didn't know that his post would connect him to her story, since that's apparently what she didn't want. She didn't owe him a warning or anything, but I have a hard time believing she didn't know that would happen. And I understand I'm not entitled to answers. Absolutely not. Again, their relationship should be nobody's business except for them, but it turned into being everyone's business, at least everyone who watches them. Especially when Sabrina has supported calls of actions that include thinking of someone as an irredeemably bad person based on his actions 3 years ago without ever getting to hear his side. I understand that she can handle her trauma any way she sees fit, and I'm not entitled to answers, but she's not entitled to that level of support from everyone, especially when she's choosing to handle that trauma with vague and extremely inconsistent social media posts. And before someone tells me, how dare I ask these questions? I'm part of the problem. How dare I make this video at all because I'm doing XYZ ABC? If you're telling me that I cannot question someone's motives when they conduct themselves that way, I can't point out their contradictions, I can't outright disagree with them misleading their audience, which, let's be clear, deleting her Instagram story, but not her more vague Twitter post, is misleading. Then I would argue you're doing more harm than you think. If someone watching this video is one day in a position to act as an advocate for anything, wouldn't hearing my issues with the actions of someone acting as an advocate now make it so that maybe they approach it a little differently? Maybe they skip the vague posting, maybe they skip the public drama, and maybe they're more aware of the possibility of contradicting their words and actions. Maybe my criticism of Sabrina's tainted message makes someone else's future message what this could have been, what it should have been, and what it was. Advocacy isn't just about being told that you're right and silencing criticism. It's about educating people effectively enough that their perceptions of your cause change for the better. I am a firm supporter of advocating for the better treatment of women throughout our society. But there are some people who aren't there or are in total denial about the grievances of women even now. When this story has a chance of changing that for some people, you have every right to want better, or just expect people to not express their concerns and yet keep questioning why things don't get better when discussions can't be had. Bye! Hey, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It actually really helps me out a lot. I make comedic commentary videos, critiques, and video essays every Friday, and if you're not convinced yet, you can check out a recommendation above. Alright, well, thanks again.